Chapter 7 of our textbook deals with listening, that is receiving and responding to messages. We've looked at the nature of listening. Now the second video segment deals with the challenge of listening. So even with the very best of intentions, listening involves a challenge. Listening carefully is a challenge. Why? Because, well, there are lots of physiological factors that may intervene: social roles, cultural background, personal interests and needs. All these shape and distort the raw data we hear, and what comes out sometimes is very different messages than what the speaker sent. So let's recognize the barriers to listening first. These include information overload, personal concerns, rapid thought, and noise. The first one is informational overload. It's about impossible to listen carefully to everything we hear, because we are bombarded with messages, not only in face-to-face interaction, but also from the internet, the media, cell phones. So as a result, we choose to listen mindlessly rather than mindfully. We give selective attention to those things that are significant to us. Sometimes it's personal concerns that become a barrier to listening. We are so wrapped up in our individual lives and what concerns us, and then the messages others are sending, and so we just screen them out. Rapid thought is the third. Our mind's very active. We're able to understand speech at rates up to 600 words per minute. The average person speaks far more slowly, between 100 and 140 words per minute. So what do we do with the spare time? Well, we channel surf on them. And then noise. Our physical and mental worlds often present some distractions that make it hard for us to pay attention. That could be physical noise, but very often it's psychological noise, our state of mind. It could be physiological noise, meaning the fatigue that we experience. We've talked a little bit about this previously in chapter 1. So how do we go about avoiding poor listening habits? Well, the first one is that you have to be aware of when you engage in them and what you do. Pseudo-listening is pretending to pay attention, and we've all done this. We're all guilty as charged. We look the other person in the eye, we may even nod and smile, but our minds are elsewhere. Stage hogging is when we express our ideas without inviting someone else to share theirs. Third is selective listening, and that is only responding to parts of a speaker's remarks that interest you, and you ignore or you reject everything else they've said. Filling the gaps is manufacturing information that wasn't part of the original story, and so it becomes a distorted version of the story. Insulated listening is the opposite of selective listening. Instead of focusing only on topics of interest, these listeners tune out topics they'd rather not deal with, and we've done this too. Defensive listening takes innocent comments as personal attacks, and essentially defensive listeners project their own insecurities on the other person. Ambushing is listening carefully only to collect information that you can use against the speaker. The next section deals with components of listening.